Okay. Hi, we're back with Genre Talk with Andrew Q. Gordon, and we're talking about today is release day for
Yeah.
Child of
Most happy day.
Most Happy Day. So this is book 4 in the Champion of the Gods series. Chi- what is the name?
It is Child of Night and Day.
And tell us about the book.
So book four picks up, as I think I've said before, this is a true series. So book one, two, three, and four. So every book follows on and continues the conflict until you get to book five, where everything will be resolved, hopefully. But book four sort of picks up with problem with trying to tell you about book four is I give away too many spoilers if you haven't read this series yet. But book four is just a continuation of it. And what I can say is that my expectation when I started this was that book one was going to be on Artis, which is the one continent. Book two was going to take us to Dumbarton, which is where Kell was born. And Kell is the major wizard of the world in history at that point. And then book three was going to take us to Lordria, which was the largest continent on the planet. And then book four, which is where we're in now, we're going to actually get to Erd, which is the fourth continent, which is well, if you count Dumbarton as a continent, it's the fourth, but you're going to get to the last major continent. So what I did was I tried to take us from like 1 to 2 to 3. And then for book five, you'll probably end up going bing, 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 and hopping all around.
Mm-hmm.
So book four is going to take us to like another place, and we're going to meet most of the rest of the major players in the book. So you're going to meet like a couple of the heads of another temple and things that we really need to get to try and resolve the final conflict.
That's a lot of world building.
There was a lot that went on with it, yes. um, it's like I said, yeah, like I said in yesterday's interview, there was a lot. I wrote a lot of words for this, and so I think book one was 100,000, book two was about 100,000, book three was 135, book four is like 175, at least a million for that, because I didn't have that much left over when I finished book four of the 1.3 million that I wrote, but that I'm
Mm-hmm.
using for book five. So yeah, I cut it down about half. So there was a lot of that cut down was, just overly wordy stuff that I didn't need to do, but a lot of it was scenes that I didn't include, or bits of scenes that I didn't include that involved like, long soliloquies of, oh, and 1642 this happened, like as if nobody else knew that, because of course obviously the readers don't, so I'm trying to figure out a way. And so like my writing has evolved so they don't just have like these ginormous info dumps between characters who otherwise would never have talked about that. But because it's in my head, I could, you know, take on these things and move forward and include snippets of it so that people could get some flavor of what has come before.
Well, and how do you feel about those 1.3 million words? Because I mean, I hear authors all the time, oh, I wrote 50,000 words and I can't use them, and oh, wasted time, wasted words. I have never felt that way. I feel like anything that you write, whether it ends up in the main story or on the cutting room floor, it's informed you. It adds nuance to what ends up on the page.
I don't believe anything's wasted either, because I think that it sort of goes in here, and
Right.
and actually, my 5-year-old's influence, and I think when I started this, she was 4, and she was big into Peppa Pig. For any parent who knows that Peppa Pig is, it's a cartoon about a pig and a little pig family, and one of the things they always talked about is they had these bits and bobs, and bits and bobs are basically knickknacks. It's like their word for knickknacks, and so I have a file in book 5 called Bits and Bobs, and it probably has couple 100,000 words in it, so it's never wasted. It's, like, oh, what did I say? How I go back and I read it, so it's never, to me, it's never wasted.
Do you think you'll put some up for your readers? Missing scenes, cut scenes?
No, probably not. I mean,
Well, I
uh,
mean, some people. I am one who, I don't mind when an author visits a character having breakfast, because to me, what they have for breakfast or what they talk about over breakfast, that adds nuance and sometimes subtext, and you get to know the characters better. So I don't mind some extra words.
I think, okay, so to me, it sort of goes back to the whole like Tolkien wrote like all those millions of words and ultimately became
Right.
the Silmarillion and other, untold stories and stuff like that. This isn't that good. they're cut for a reason. They don't move, but what I will tell you is that what I did after the release of book one, between one and two, is I created First Love, which is a free story that talks about something that was mentioned in book one. So it was like you heard a reference to Farrell's disastrous first love. And so we wrote a little story about that. It doesn't show the disaster part. It shows the good part that he remembered. And then, of course, we cut out the bad part. But in book four, I've gone back to that. And so one of the central elements of the story is that we pick this up 10 years after the war has started. And when the war started, his mother dies. And we know that right from the jump. His mother is dead. And so in the First Love prequel, it was an attempt to do two things. One was to show this scene, but it was also to show interaction between him and his mother and why he had such fond memories of her. And so in the prequel that I'm doing now, that will come out and not to be totally like selly or a salesman pitch, but you can only get this prequel if you buy book four. You got to buy book four, and then there's a link to the free story. That one,
only fair.
I did
The
too.
reward for your faithful readers. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, right, because I'm giving it away free. But that's going to tell the story of when his mother dies. So you see a little bit of him when his interaction with her when she's alive and why she means so much. And then you show like this, it's a formative event. I mean, his mother has died, his master has died, Heminal Tosi dies at the start of the war. And so this is a formative event for him. So I wanted to do that in a way that kind of shows where he was back when this happened. So uncut scenes now, because typically what I want to do is I want to use some of these things to show, they'll be more polished than that. I mean, I had this one edited by two people that have edited, one person who's edited the series and one person I hired who has never read the series. And so, and I'm going to have a cover done by Sam, who's like the Angsty G, who is the artist for the series itself. So it's going to be that is going to be like the Silmarillion. It's going to be that good. Okay, maybe not as good as the Silmarillion, but it's going to be like that kind of a thing.
Well, let's give a shout out to your cover artist, because you've got some really awesome covers.
Yeah, I love the covers that Sam has done. I mean, she goes by Angsty G. She has her own website, so if you've looked at them and you like that kind of stuff, she doesn't do just fantasy. She does a lot of good stuff, but she's super, super easy to work with, and she's, in my opinion, she's brilliant. I mean, I gave her an idea that I wanted, and she came up with a concept, and then when I tried to steer the concept off the rails, she steered me back on. So she's really, and in a nice way, so she's really a great cover artist. She gets it.
Good. I'm quite fond of your covers. And your characters. Let's talk about your characters.
So, wow. Another shout out. They're putting The Last Grandmaster in audiobook starting probably in August. They'll come out, or September. And so when we were doing it, I had to pick. I got these auditions from people, and they picked a scene of that. They picked the opening scene, which was great, whatever, but it didn't really have the different characters. And so like there are really four main characters. And so what I went is I found this scene to give like callbacks to certain people, so I could listen to how they did these scenes. And so the four main characters are Farrell and Mysaryl, who are a couple, and they're both men, and Nerti and Clismore, who are unicorns, and they're immortal. And they are basically I don't want to say helping Farrell, but they're integral in the whole. I mean, the four of them form the nucleus of the resistance, so to speak, or the counteraction to the people that are trying to destroy the world. So Farrell's the wizard. Mysaryl is I tried to get away from like the whole elves and dwarves, but I had dwarves anyway. And so what I did was I created a race of humans called Muchari that are not really immortal. They're stronger, faster, hear better, see better. They're basically that embodiment of how the elves are superior to humans. But these are really humans that the gods have just elevated in a way, and you get the whole backstory of it at some point. And so the two of them are the main couple, and then Nerti and Clismore, and then along the way you're going to meet a whole bunch of other people. They're going to be priests and priestesses. They're going to be wizards. And interestingly enough, I think some of my favorite or my probably better portrayed characters are mostly women. Penelope and Marissa are a couple, and when we go to Dunbarton, Kel's birthplace, that's pretty much who we see. Mm-hmm. And then when we get to the temple, the city for the priestess of love, Sarita, pretty much the main character we see is her high priestess. And even when they go other places, Jalella, who is the high priestess for the goddess of love, follows him around. And there's like a dynamic between them, like a brother-sister relationship. So, I mean, I had a lot of fun with them. I mean, I think, I had a lot of fun with, trying to create dwarf culture, without making it dwarfish, I guess. But still dwarfish, you have to keep that. And then, I don't want to give away too much. I mean, there are times where we meet Kel during the books, because Kel is a central figure, even though he's gone. He's 3,000 years, and his time was 3,000 years ago. He leaves Farrell a bunch of holograms, for lack of a better term, so to move him along the path that he needs to go. Mm-hmm. So you do get to meet people in that way, and so the real trick was trying to keep personalities different, because there's, it's not like a one and done book where you have maybe 6 or 7 characters.
Right.
There are a lot of characters that go on, but we do have an index and a glossary. And we have a what came before at the beginning of each book, so try and catch people up so they don't have to reread 400,000 words to catch up.
Right. So, significance of characters' names. Is there any?
Absolutely none.
No? It just sounded good to you?
That, and I don't really want to tell you where I got some of these names from. But what I would do is, like, how like I would see names, or I'd see people like using names or whatever. Maybe they were on foreign websites or whatever, and then I would just keep a list by my bedside. And when I was typing, I would need a name. Okay, there we go. So there's no significance. But I did have an argument with somebody about this. Now, the one I will say, there is a mistake. There's a huge glaring mistake in the book that I'm not going to point out. But I mean, nobody has really caught it, or if they have, they haven't said anything. But one of the arguments I had with somebody was using Earth names, right? Mm-hmm. So there's like Peter, and there's Wilhelm, and there's Penelope, and there's, other people that have just common names. And then there are people that don't have common names. And so my response to them was, how do you know that they don't have that name there? I mean, everything could be anywhere. I mean, you could have, Andrew here, and you could have Andrew in another language.
Right.
And it may not mean the same thing, but, and they're like, well, Andrew means this. Well, I mean, okay, but it's 6 letters. Mm-hmm. And you throw 6 letters together and you come up with a name. So, I mean, to me, names are not as, I don't have the Tolkien sense of, order for the names and how they all mean something. I don't have that.
Mm-hmm. I don't think that's a bad thing.
The one thing I will say is that certain things, like the protagonist, the antagonist, Meglar, his ancestors had like a certain way of naming themselves, and they all start with V or something. So I mean, just sometimes there were like little things like that where you would catch, people would have like the same kinds of things, but there really wasn't like, well, everything with an I is dwarfish and everything with an O is from no.
Well, I think that's the, for all of the wonderful things Gene Roddenberry did for us, he also gave us worlds where, I mean, everybody on Vulcan, their name starts with an S, after a while, you just kind of like, really?
Right, and I think that I mean, it could happen. I mean, it's like what they say. Give a monkey a million years and a typewriter, and he'd probably type out at some point War and Peace or Shakespeare.
Right. Yep. Yep. So, okay. Well, probably time we wrap up for today, but I want to make sure that everyone knows that that today is Andy's release day for Child of Night and Day, book 4 in the Champion of the God series, released today from DSP Publications. So, go buy it. And if you haven't read book 1 yet, grab it. Are we still having a sale on that, Andy?
Yep, for the month of April, book 1 is free, book 2 is 99 cents, and book 3 is half off. And that's on Amazon or the DSPP website, and I think even at Barnes & Noble and other places. So I think everywhere. I think they've pushed through the sale everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But on the website, if you buy it, there's a coupon. You can only use it once, but I mean, it's only for the one book, so why would you want to buy it twice? And it's Kings, KINGS, all lowercase. So when it asks, if you go to the DSP website, if you ask, it'll tell you that you have a coupon, and the coupon is Kings, and that'll get you 50% off at the DSP website, DSPV website.
So, hurry up, kids. Grab them while they're hot. And all right, I think that's it for today. And I have not yet thanked the Novel Approach Reviews for letting us do that. So let me do this. So let me do that now. Thank you, Lisa, and everybody.
Yes, thank you, Lisa.
And okay, and we'll see you tomorrow, Andy. Thanks a lot.
See you tomorrow.